What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the We Get to Do This podcast. It was me this week, no Bay, unfortunately. We all missed her. I had on a very special guest. His name is John Karlson. He's my longest time client and has gone through a crazy weight loss journey. I'm going to let him tell his story, but thank you for another great episode, John, and I hope you all enjoy. Thank you. What's up, everyone? Welcome back for another episode of We Get to Do This. It's a very surreal moment for me this week. I have a good friend in my life, or my longest client of roughly 4 years on the pod today. 4 years?
Next month, or yeah,
4 years?
yeah, next month.
We started working together in March of 2021, and I posted on my Strava last night how it's a surreal moment because like when we started working together, I remember when you hit me up, I was like, yo, this is the first dude I don't know. You know?
Yeah.
Everyone I had worked with till that point, I had either like they were a friend, a family member, something, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were the first person I didn't know. And we used to do, and not only that, but you came to me with a pretty lofty goal too, which we'll get into. And we used to do like one-on-one sessions.
Yeah.
You were the first person I did personal training sessions with, and so on my end, it's really cool seeing your growth, obviously, but then also just thinking back to where we both were, So we always start all the pods by asking, who are you, what do you do, and why do you do it? So, John, who are you, what do you do, and how do you do it?
My name is John Karlson. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I currently work in equity at a transfer agent. I've been a part of the team for a little over 3.5 years, and I started off in the back end, kind of like a support role, helping out call center, helping out other senior members of my team. And in 2022, I became more client facing, and I worked my way up. Now I'm a full-on client service manager, and I've been enjoying it. I like my team members. I get to travel once a year and meet all of them because we're all remote. I'm the only team member from Milwaukee, which kind of sucks because when I go into the office, I don't get to see any of them, but it's all right. Last 2 years, we went to New Jersey and got to go to New York City, and been a lot of fun when I get to do that. And yeah, looking forward to the future. And then right now I'm currently on a weight loss journey, which we will talk definitely a lot more of. And we've been working together for almost 4 full years now, and I've enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah. Tell us more about the weight loss journey. Let's start with that. We'll go into the why. I'm sure that will naturally come up. But for those listening, from your perspective, when we first started talking, like what did you hit me up about, and where were you at? Tell me what is this journey?
I gotta add some context because I think that's important to the overall, story. So ever since I was young, I was always probably the biggest kid in the room. Even at my age, if I look back at pictures of myself when I was like 14, I looked skinnier, but at the time I was still heavy, like I think I hit 100 pounds when I was maybe 10 or 11. And it was still in elementary school. You're not supposed to be that big at that age. And then when I got to high school, I was definitely over 200. And then my senior year of high school, going into that, I was a little less than what I'm at now. I was probably like 265, I was 17. And by the end of high school, I was pushing 300. And going into college is when I hit that. And I remember vividly when I was like 20 or 21, my doctor was like, over the last couple of years, you've just been gaining weight at an alarming rate. I was averaging 30 pounds a year of weight gain, and that was just not healthy. And during college, I would try my best to lose weight. I would work out with people. I would try other things, and it would just fizzle out, and I wouldn't have any success. And when I graduated, it was December of 2019. I was probably, that's good.
You're good. Just keep going.
I can pause it. You can cut this.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah. So after I graduated college, December 2019, so a couple months before COVID, I was probably. You think it's recording?
Yeah. Yeah, no. That's the first time I've ever gotten a phone call.
Yeah.
Fun.
Interesting.
Yeah. Not to ruin your train of thought.
Oh, you're good. I got
I'm
it.
crushing it.
Is
Yeah, we're good. It's recording.
there a way to test?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So yeah, after I graduated college, December 2019, around that, it was things got pretty tough. 2020 was a rough year for everyone. Well, a lot of people, myself included. I think January 2020 was, how much did I was probably north of 350. Man, probably more actually, probably closer to 370. And again, that year, I went through a lot of personal stuff. I had a very close friend of mine pass away at the age of 23 to cancer. That really kind of, I spiraled. And then on top of that, he passed away in July, so middle of 2020. And then leading up to that, it was all COVID. I couldn't see any family and friends. I was working remotely. I developed some pretty nasty eating habits from beginning of 2020 until up until the point you and I met, which was I reached out to you actually. You and I talked about this last night at dinner. I reached out to you on February 27th, 2021. We looked at the text messages and it was just crazy. So from beginning of 2020 to that point, I probably gained like 50 pounds of weight, and it got too much. And I was door dashing. Your camera went out. I was door dashing a ton, multiple times a day. And when I was eating the food, it was a lot. I would get my daily diet would consist of probably, like Taco Bell, 2,000 calories worth of Taco Bell for lunch at like 2 p.m. Then I'd eat dinner at like 5 or 6, and it wouldn't be healthy. It would be pizza, burgers, pasta, stuff like that. And then a couple hours later, I would probably eat half a bag of family-sized Doritos, and if I had a smaller bag, I'd eat that. And then right around like 11:30 midnight, I'd go get McDonald's or something, Wendy's, just consume. I probably was consuming 5 to 6,000 calories a day, and that just wasn't sustainable. And I did that pretty much all of 2020. And I have some personal stories that we can talk about now or later, going into just how I found out that I needed a change and what led me to you.
Yeah, because what was the most you weighed when the most started?
So when we started working together, I want to talk about that story. Maybe we do that next. But the most I ever weighed was, we were working together for like 3 or 4 months. It was just, went to the doctor in June or July, late June, early July. I don't really remember. And I stepped on the scale and it said 425, and I was just like, "Jeez, that's bad." So the heaviest I ever got, like officially, was 425.
And what do you weigh right now? What was the lowest you got?
So the lowest I weighed was 250. So I lost 175 pounds, and that was October of 2023. Right now, currently, it's March 2025. I weigh 275. So I put a little weight back on, but some of it's been muscle and some of it's been
Right.
other stuff. But
So you went from 425 to 250. We can say 275, 150 pounds.
yeah, in like I don't know, 4 years or so. So
How does that feel?
it feels pretty good.
Like when you take a step out, we talk about, we get to do this a lot, right? When you take a step out of like, and take a balcony viewpoint on that and realize that, that's a person.
I know, and
How does that like feel?
feels so much better. Physically, first off, it. I say this a lot. I wouldn't wish being that heavy on anyone. It was not a good way to live, and it just prevented me from doing so many things that I wanted to do in life. I couldn't do things that I enjoyed growing up. When I was younger, I loved going on roller coasters. When I turned 17, I went to Six Flags. I didn't fit in Illinois. I didn't fit on any of the rides. And I also enjoyed skiing. I was pretty good at it when I was younger. Couldn't ski because my knees gave out. I couldn't. It got to a point where I couldn't even walk more than a block without my back flaring up, my legs just wanting to give out, sweating profusely, shortness of breath. I couldn't do simple household tasks like doing laundry. From taking the laundry from my room to the basement, I couldn't do that without my back flaring up. I couldn't. It was tough. It was really tough. And when I look back at it, it's almost like that used to be me. I like how I am compared to how I am now. I was just come a long way, and I'm super grateful for the journey. And it gave me a new outlook on life, and I view things a lot differently now. And I don't take. There's a lot of things you can take for granted, and I did take my health for granted for 20 years, and I no longer want to do that. I prioritize my health now a lot better than I did before we met.
Why? Let's get into the why of that. So like when you started the weight loss journey at 24, roughly, which is relatively young.
Yeah.
In your 20s, right?
Yeah. So
like why did you start that weight loss journey?
why did I
Like,
say
tell us more about that.
Yeah. So you want me to lead up to the point of how we met?
Yeah.
Okay. So back in 2020, I already went through some personal stuff and talked about my habits. There were a few instances towards the end of the year that made me really just enough's enough, man. I gotta make some changes. The first one was probably back in August of 2020. I went camping with 4 of my close friends in the Dells, Wisconsin Dells. And it was a great trip. I enjoyed it. COVID was still a thing, and very much so, but we were outside, so we weren't, there's social distancing and stuff, but, we wanted to get away from the city and go retreat. And so we went camping. And then I don't know if you've ever been, but you might have heard of it, but there's this park that's probably 30 minutes south of that area. It's called Devil's Lake.
Okay.
Super scenic, great hike. You can go up on cliffs and stuff. The normal hike would usually take inexperienced people like, I don't know, 2 hours. And if you take your time, 2 hours, 2.5.
Do you remember how long it was?
Yeah, and I'll get into that. Oh, so it was probably like 4 miles. Not hard. If you go quick, you could do it in like 90. I never finished. At that point in my life, it was the most physically exhausting activity I ever done. I played football growing up. Like, I was pretty active. We would do 2-a-days. Lift at 5 in the morning, and then go run hills, do like 3-hour workout, come back, go home for an hour and a half, come back, practice for 4 hours. I could do that, no sweat. This, at that point, I was probably like 380. I remember very vividly having to clutch onto it, the closest tree every 5 steps. I couldn't catch my breath. It was the closest I've ever been to blacking out and legit passing out. My friends, I made it to the top, but it took me probably like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And my friends were just so concerned, and they stayed with me the entire time, until the end. Because they walked back I couldn't even make it to the car. They walked back to the car and they had to pick me up at like the main waiting area, because we parked probably like half a mile away. And they were just talking about how are we going to get him down if he gets stuck? Because we're in the woods, we're on like, there's hills and cliffs and stuff. There's no way to like helicopter out. And I'm glad that didn't happen. So I don't know. I had the strength to get down, but that was a very, very telling day that I needed to make a change. And it really opened my eyes to say. And I didn't actually make a change until the end of the year. The last week of 2020 was probably one of the most important weeks of my life. Honestly, there was 2 instances that made me change. Sorry, I'm cramping from our workout earlier this morning, and around last night. It made me fully commit. I didn't know what the change was going to look like, but I had to commit.
Mm-hmm.
So the last week of 2020, I went over to my friend's house because it was his birthday. His birthday's after Christmas, and we got pizza. And I had some pizza, and I don't really like telling this part of the thing because it's something that I dealt with many years ago. But when I was that large, I did not like using the restroom in public because I couldn't wipe my
Right.
behind, you know what I mean? Because I was so large, I couldn't twist
Right.
around and clean up. But I had to go. So I went to the bathroom, and I was in there for 30 minutes. And when I finally came out, I was sweating, and like my face was super red. And they're like, "What happened? Are you good?" And I played it off. I was like, "Oh, I just took a big dump, man. Like, I'm good. Like, the pizza hit me." But in reality, I told them this later. But I think my friends knew. I they could tell and look at my eye. Like, but I told them down the road that actually happened. Like, I couldn't wipe. So that was very telling. And then a couple days later, it was New Year's Eve. We wasn't doing anything crazy because it was still COVID. Just a handful of us went over to my other friend's house, just to have a little celebration. And they lived on the east side of Milwaukee, and kind of in a little hilly area. I parked 2 blocks away. Walking down the hill, it was fine. I got a little out of breath or whatever. Literally, probably right now would have taken me 2 minutes to walk there. But on the way to my truck, it was up a slight hill, again, 2 blocks away. And it's January 1st at like 1 a.m. It's 10 degrees out. It's cold. I'm sweating buckets and out of breath, walking from their apartment to my truck. I'm with 2 of my other buddies. They get in, they're like, "Oh my God, it's so cold. I'm freezing, man." I'm like, "Hold on. I gotta take a minute." So I take my jacket off, and I'm just sweating. I'm standing outside in 10-degree weather trying to cool off because I'm so sweaty and out of breath. Right there and then, I was like, okay, something's gotta give. So I think the following week I contracted Nutrisystem, one of those, weight loss plans. I know it worked for some people. but it didn't work for me. I spent $1,000 on like packages and stuff, and the first package came 2 weeks later, so mid-January, right around my 24th birthday is when I got them, and I did it for about 2 weeks, and it just wasn't sustainable. And I was like, this sucks. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm like, there's got to be another way. And I forgot to mention this. So during 2020, I reconnected with an old friend, and this brings into how we met. A guy I'd known for 20 years. His name's Mike. He's a great dude. A little early before 2022, or I don't keep saying 2022. My bad. I meant 2020. Before 2020 ended, he mentioned that he was working with you. He's like, hey man, I hired a personal trainer. I'm preparing for a half marathon in April. Why don't you think about giving him a shot? And I was like, yeah, Mike, we'll see. Kind of brushed it off because I was nervous. I didn't know how to proceed, you know? So that was probably like fall of 2020. And then, you know, some weeks go by. I told Mike about Nutrisystem. He's like, hey man, Jacob, I can give you his contact info. I'm like, all right, well, I'll think about it. Nutrisystem failed. So I went through February trying to figure out what's next. I was just so lost and confused. I'm like, you know what, maybe I should text Mikey, text Jacob. And then what made me finally reach out to you was my friend had asked me to move a table, like a table set and some chairs, because I had a truck. And he needed, you know, I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, if you have a truck, you're the help.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So it's just an ordinary table, you know, it's big, but it's nothing that two dudes in their 20s can handle. So we get there, and I immediately blow my back out. I'm like, good God. And like, I'm just sitting in my truck. I somehow we got the table and stuff in. I think his mom might have helped us, but I blew my back out. And then on the way home, I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, enough's enough. I got to do something. And I literally, I think I called Mikey or texted him. I was like, Mikey, give me Jacob's information right now. And then he gave it to me. And I remember very vividly when we pulled up to his house, I sat in the truck because we had to wait because we had to call another friend to get here to help us move because I couldn't. So I was hurt. And I was like, what do I say? What do I do? I don't know what to expect. And then I sent you the text that you found last night. And then you said, yeah, we can work something out. I just brought on a new client. I think I was your 5th, 6th.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. But you said that it would have to wait until the end of March. I'm like, whatever, that's fine. And he's like, in 2 weeks, let's plan a Zoom call and we get to know each other. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So then those 2 weeks came, and I just remember before we met you, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what you look like. Mikey just said you're my age. I was 24 at the time, so I was thinking you were around. I'm a year older than you, so you were 23. I was just so nervous. I was like, man, how's this gonna go? And something I want to ask you is, what were your thoughts when we first, before that meeting?
Before the meeting?
Yeah. Like, what were your initial thoughts? Like,
I mean, I think, like I said, I was super nervous because I knew you. Mikey had told me you weighed 400 or whatever it was, and
at that time I was above 400. I don't remember. I was like low 400, like 410 probably.
Right. And I was, again, I hadn't helped anyone I didn't know yet.
Mm.
And also at the time I was charging, I think, like 30, and then Mikey was 50 a month. I remember.
I think it was like $50 you charged, maybe 75.
Well, but then for you, I was already to a point early on where I was like, I need to charge more than $50 a month for what I'm, because like at that point it was $50 a month. You got strength, you got cardio, you got everything. You got, we were meeting at least once a week, if not more, texts every day. It was a lot, right?
In the beginning, it was, you were on me, dude. You were on top.
Yeah. So I was like, I got to raise it to 75.
Yeah.
But but I'm like, at the time too, my this dude's paying me money. He's putting a lot of faith into me.
Mm-hmm.
I was nervous as hell.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
At that point, and honestly, still now, my mentality was, that's when it started to flip. Those moments I just described from the end and like in 2020, just based on everything that happened in my life up until that point, prepared me to make the jump. When I met with you, I just remember feeling very relieved and confident, because Mikey would tell me, he gave me like hints and like, dude, Jacob, he knows his stuff. He builds a plan around you, and he will make it so that you progress and gain strength. He told me the very first workout you had him do when training for a half, I think, was literally like a 10-minute walk or something like that. Maybe long, maybe like a mile. And I was like, all right. For me, I think it was literally a 10-minute walk, but we'll get to that in a second. And I just remember being very relieved. And then I think we had to wait a couple weeks to start, because I was going to Nashville. And then I went with my mom and brother for, I think, his spring break, and we just wanted to travel. It was a good trip. I had a good time. But then there's a quick story on that. When we went to Nashville, I was still very bad on my eating habits, and we stopped in Indianapolis because it's like an 8-hour drive, and we split it up, and we got McDonald's for breakfast, and I got my usual order, and my mom kind of like looked at me and she was like, "Really? That's how much you get?" Like, she was surprised. And I was like, "Yeah."
How much was it? Did you get?
At the time, my usual order was it was the 2 burrito meal, and then I would get another hash brown, so 2 hash browns, 2 burritos, and 2 sausage and muffins, and a large Diet Coke. So basically,
That's breakfast.
yeah. So basically, 2 full meals, and it would fill me up, but literally an hour later, I'd be hungry again.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, I kind of looked at her. I was like, yeah, she's got a point. So, but she knew about it. She knew I met you, and I was like, yeah, Mom, I know. I'm meeting this trainer soon. I'm working with him literally when we get back. I think it'll all work out.
All right.
And then went on the trip and came back. And that following was a weekend trip. And I think the following Monday or Tuesday was my very first workout. And you literally had me walk not even a mile. I think it was a 15-minute walk. And then I remember you wanted me to do it nonstop, but I couldn't. We tracked how many times I stopped.
Yeah, we tried to just lower that.
Yeah.
Also, let's talk about what were the workouts for you when we first started. Because
Yeah.
the workouts for you when we first started now aren't even workouts. Like,
No.
wouldn't even tax you, right? So what were the workouts we were doing when we first started?
When we first started, those first 3 months was just getting me to move my body, because I weighed so much that I was building. I mean, I didn't need any weights or anything, I think the first 2 weeks were just walking and keeping track of how many times I stopped.
Right. I don't even think we went into a gym. I think it was
No.
I said, go walk, you have 15
Yeah.
minutes. And then Monday it was, you get to stop 10 times.
Yeah.
Tuesday was, you get to stop 9 times.
Yeah.
8. And
That's
did
what
that so you could walk 15 minutes straight.
Mm-hmm. That's what it was. And at the time, I was so committed that I was determined to not stop as much as I could, And I forget when, but there was 2 moments early on that I knew I could do this. So
Knew you could lose weight?
yes, knew I could lose the weight. Knew I could do this. The first time was, I think I had you wanted me to walk 15 or 16 minutes without stopping. And I did that. And I literally just walked up and down the street. I didn't even go so far, I did that, and my calves were just burning, and I was just pushing through the pain because I was so determined to meet that. And when I did it, I was like, let's go. And I think I texted you right away. Yeah, I just did that. And then that progressed into walking a mile nonstop. I did that. And then one of the most important, I don't know if I ever told you this story, but it's kind of funny. I walked one of the workouts. This is probably maybe 2 months in. It was spring. It was like end of spring, early summer, so May. And the workout was to walk 2 miles nonstop. And as soon as I started walking, it started pouring out, like downpouring. And I was just listening to Nickelback. I forgot the song, but I was walking back and like downpouring rain. And I was walking up a hill and there was a couple cars that stopped, like, you good? And I was like, I'm good. And then I literally just realized to myself, I can freaking do this. And then the sun kind of cleared out and it got sunny. You know, like just after it rains, the sun's coming through the clouds and stuff. I was like, let's go. And I think that was a defining moment and helped me commit to this further, because there was a lot of times where I was unsure and like, I was like, okay, I don't know. But what was very important for me was you helped me in so many ways outside of just moving my body. You helped me kick a very nasty fast food addiction that I had developed over 2020 with the DoorDash. And I remember vividly, you're like, okay, we got to lower these numbers down. It's not going to happen overnight. You need to, each week, I want you to DoorDash less. So literally the first week was like, okay, do it 8 times. Then the next week was 7, 6, and so on.
We had all that tracked.
Yeah.
List every week of this is 7, this is 6, and with the walk.
And I would tell you what I ate. And it was very helpful because you were never disappointed. You know what I mean? You kept me. This is the reason why I failed too, because I would work out with friends and like my friends and family would tell me like, I need you to, like, you need to be more concerned about your health. And I just a lot of the times didn't listen, you know, because I was just going down that path. And then back to 2020, it got to a point where my friends, if I asked them to get food, I didn't know this until a couple of years ago. One of my good friends told me this. He was like, yeah, man, we kind of made a pact to not go out to eat with you because we're all concerned about you. And at the time, I didn't realize it. But looking back now, it's like, you know, I don't blame them at all for doing that because it was that bad. And that was their way of saying, hey, like, we're concerned about you. And he told me that they wanted me to figure it out on my own first. And I did. And it took me some time, but it led me to you. So, back to 2021, lowering those DoorDashes and going out to eat significantly helped, but it took a long time. I remember I think it took like 5 months.
We weren't making a lot of progress.
I was not making a lot of progress in the weight loss. Actually, I was still gaining weight because I was still eating crappy.
Right.
I just didn't gain as much. So when we first started working, I was probably like low 4s. And then, as I mentioned earlier, towards the middle of summer, when I went to the doctor for a checkup, I was 425. And around that time, I was getting very frustrated because I wasn't seeing any progress. And I mentioned that I had a friend who passed away. So he passed away in July of 2020. And then for his year anniversary of his passing, his dad put on a walk-up bout, like a walk, you know, raise money for charity. And we're still doing it to this day. This upcoming summer will be 5 years, and it's always a special day, and I always enjoy it. So, but anyways, so that very first walkabout, he went really above and beyond with the mileage. So we started at Estabrook Beer Garden, which is by where I went to college. I went to UW Milwaukee. We would frequent there when we were younger. Great spot, and we would walk down the Oak Leaf Trail in Milwaukee to the art museum and like the war memorial, that area. That was a 5-mile walk. And I remember talking to him like, dude, like, this is going to be the longest I've ever walked. Because before, I think I only did like maybe 4 miles. And you're like, dude, let's see what you can do. So I ended up, and obviously we were at a beer garden and we made stops on this. So we were drinking. So I didn't get drunk or anything. I had a couple beers, but some of my other friends, they enjoyed themselves and had some drinks and stuff. So, half of the group, when we got to the memorial, took Ubers or got a ride back from someone else. The other half walked back. I was 5 miles in and I was like, dude, I'm feeling good. Let's see how far I can go. So I made it back another 2.5 miles and I really started feeling it in my feet. I'm like, I just got like 7.5 miles. I haven't never done that before. I'm feeling okay. So I hopped on those Lime scooters and went back. And, but at that point I was like, dude, when we met because I was on a Saturday, we usually had our check-ins on Mondays. When I talked to you on Monday, I was like, dude, why aren't I losing weight? And I'm doing very well with the walking. I can walk further so far, and it's the furthest I've ever been able to go. And you're like, well, dude, you're still not eating the best. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So then August comes, and I started having to go back to my old job. I had to go to the office once or twice a week, and usually I would get McDonald's. And I remember it vividly. It was August 9th, 2021. I was in the drive-thru line. I placed my order. I was about to pay. I'm like, dude, let's just not get McDonald's after this. See what happens. So I get it. Whatever. And at the time, I had a scale at home, and it said error when I would step on it. And after that week, so what would it be, the 16th? I stepped on it, and I had lost 2 pounds. And I wasn't saying error anymore. I was like 415, 416. I was like, holy crap. All right, I might be onto something. So I was like, all right, let's not do McDonald's. Let's try and not do any sort of like other fast food, because that's just illustrated how much I worked at McDonald's, or I would eat at McDonald's. I wanted to add, I worked at McDonald's. That was my very first job at 17 until I was 22. So like 4.5 years. And every time I worked there, I got a free meal. I got half off up to like $20. So I took advantage of that. That definitely played a part in my weight gain all those years ago. And that's what kicked the addiction. But I can happily say that I have not had McDonald's since August 9th, 2021.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Like it's insane. I don't even crave it. Sometimes I crave it, but I'm not going to break it. You know what I mean? I don't crave it, not anywhere nearly as much as I used to. So, but yeah, after that, the following weekend, I moved my brother help my family move my brother into college up in UW Stevens Point. And that day I had noodles and company because I just bought him lunch because he was going off to college for his freshman year. I'm like, all right, after this, let's stop. Let's see what happens. So then I don't think I weighed myself for a little bit. I weighed myself at the end of August, and I was like 405. I had lost a significant amount of weight in August. I was like, Jesus, that's insane.
Yeah, I was like a month.
Yeah. So I was probably like 420 at like end of July, early August. And then at the end of August, I was in the low fours. And then a week later, it was September, and I was out of the 400-pound club. And I was like, all right, I'm onto something here. We're onto something. Let's keep going. What drives you? Well, to me personally, what drove me personally was seeing results. And I didn't see results on the scale for April until August. So however many months that is of 21. But you just have to stick with it. You have to.
You saw, and I remember telling you all this a lot of times because, so I remember thinking how the food thing was the hardest part, and we had so many talks about it. And I was like, yeah, I can't push this that much because it's not going to do it. So I actually didn't do much with the food for a while.
Yeah.
The reasoning was, in my thought process, I was like, we also have to get you to a point where you can move enough to burn calories.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
That was a big thing too, where I kept reiterating that too. I was like, we need to just get you to the point where you can move long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because at the time you could only go 5 minutes. And
Yeah.
that was the day.
Yeah.
So it's like, we need to get you to a point where you can handle 30 minutes of just movement, right? And I remember saying, like, let's track that, and let's just keep getting those wins, right? 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever it is, right? And keep getting those wins. And then you started seeing results from that, and then you started thinking, what else could I do? We started whatever, and then it was the food stuff.
Yeah.
And then that started playing. That was where you started really making changes.
Yeah.
Because you went, it was like pretty steady, and then drop.
It was.
And then it was drop. And then it was fast.
Yeah.
Right? Because in that, you lost probably the most weight in that year afterwards.
So from August, so not in a full calendar year, but from August, I have a graph from those apps. I forgot what it was. But I'll have to try. Maybe it was Trainerize or whatever. But I have a graph from August of 2021 to August or September of 2022, where it's just straight decline.
Right.
In that time frame, I was, 420 to 280, like 290. So like I lost probably 120 to 130 pounds in a span of 12 months. Not a full, not a calendar year, but I was losing 10. The goal for me from 400 to 300 was 10 pounds a month, no matter the cost. Do it. I do it. I for the most part, I did it. Some months I lost more, some months I lost less. Averaged out, it was about 10 pounds a month.
Did that get easier? Like once you started getting the momentum, did it get easier to lose the weight?
Yeah, it did, because I kept adding on. So, in September, I cut out fast food. I tried to. Well, I did. I remember on October. Oh no, this is what it was. From middle of September to end of the year, I went sober. I didn't have any alcohol. At that time, before that, I wasn't really drinking much, but I would have a beer or two. And during that time frame, I went sober and I prioritized my workout. That's NFL season. I had Packer season tickets too. I'm a massive Packer fan. I know most of your base is Minnesota, but that's all right. I had Packer season tickets, so every Sunday I would drive up and go to the game at Lambeau, but I would always make sure to work out that day. So if it was a later time game, I would do my workout in the morning. If it was night, do it after when I got back. And football season, so, and things were opening up again in Wisconsin because COVID was kind of on the down course, right? My friends were having people over, and a couple of them were moving into new houses and stuff. And they'd be like, "Hey man, come over, let's have some beer." And I'd be like, "I'll come over, but I'm not going to drink, and I need to walk first." I remember vividly, one of my closest friends was having a day party, and I had to do a 9-mile walk that day. He called me, FaceTimed me 3 times, and a couple of my other friends were over there. They're like, "Dude, just let him do it. He'll come when he comes, man. He's walking 9 miles. He's got to do this." They were super supportive. I think he was just calling to check in and be like, "Hey man, how's it going?" Which I appreciate. He's like, "You still calling?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I was able to prioritize things and then also have fun at the same time. I found the balance. What really helped for me is the month of October of 2021, I was already not drinking alcohol, because beer is just empty calories. It doesn't do anything for you. I didn't go out. I had no fast food, no going out to eat, no nothing.
Yeah, you locked in.
I locked in.
See what happened.
I lost 15 pounds that month.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And by the end of 2021, I was 360 pounds. So I got up to 425 in end of June, early July, end of the year at 360. And then in early 2022, I kept going. I actually got COVID in 2022 from the Packer game, which sucked. But it actually helped my weight loss because I lost some weight from that. But then I remember I really wanted to get out of the 100-pound club. I'm sorry, the 300. Wait, no, what was it? I wanted to lose 100 pounds total before, on like the 2-year anniversary of my friend's passing. And I remember I didn't,
Like June.
July. It was July. Yeah.
Journey.
Yeah. It would have been a year and a half into the year of the journey, but it would have been just before, like I count like the total, like the first start of the losing of the weight. So it would have been probably a few weeks before a 1 year mark of me actually seeing some results on the scale. I remember I didn't hit that, and I was really upset. And you're like, dude, you're beating yourself up too much, man. You're doing great. And I really needed to hear that.
Yeah, because you missed it by like a week. How?
A week, yeah. And literally the next,
Literally, like you were like,
yeah,
yo, I'm so upset. I wanted to hit 100, yada yada, and I asked how much you had hit, and it was like 98.
yeah.
It was like,
But I wanted
100 pounds.
I wanted
I
to.
hear you.
And then the week later I did it, and it was fine. And then I'd have to get my phone. I don't remember. Pull up my Instagram. Can you pull it up real quick? I don't remember the first day or the day I got out of the 300-pound club. I posted on my Instagram. That was,
July. It was in like July.
yeah, July or August of 2022. But that was probably one of the top 5 like most proud moments of my life. Currently, like still, might be top 3. I just never thought that it would happen. I didn't think that I was
Crazy. Here's the 4 pictures.
So that was me at like probably 400. That was my brother's graduation.
Here's the
That was
4.
That was September of 2021 playing softball, and then that was me after I lost 100 pounds.
Crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
and I just, that feeling of seeing the scale 299, no 3 in front, I was like, wow, that's crazy, man. That
One. So then we started getting into like
running.
Then it was, now you can do things.
Now I can do,
Really
yeah.
bluntly, right?
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
like traveling wasn't hard anymore. Bathroom.
No.
It was,
Well, that actually got better. That got better pretty quickly. The bathroom thing. Once I got like out of the 400s, that got easier. Also like doing mundane stuff, like cleaning, and my back wasn't flaring up going up down the stairs. And also like I could walk.
right.
I could walk now.
Right.
I went to Atlanta. Me and my friend went and visited another friend down in Atlanta, and this was around the time of in July of 2021, and I remember it was just so hot down there, and they were like super concerned. They're like, "Dude, are you good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. It's just 90 degrees out. I'm sweating buckets." But like, I was walking around with them and stuff, and it was, yeah, that it did get easier. But then during the 2022 is when I think stopped walking, and you had me no, this was early on. You had me go to the gym and go on the elliptical. The elliptical is actually what really helped facilitate the weight loss, because yes, walking is great, but that doesn't burn as many calories as going on the elliptical for an hour. I lived by the elliptical when I lost my first 100 pounds. When people ask me what to do if they don't like to run or they don't want to walk, I tell them the elliptical or the stair stepper. But going on the elliptical for an hour, in my opinion, is a game changer. You just constantly moving your body, you're sweating. I shredded 100 pounds doing that. And it can be pretty boring, so I suggest saving up some Netflix shows to go on, or I don't know, read a book. But it works, dude. It freaking works, man. And that was another thing we had to build up on, because I could only go for like 5 minutes. I think you had me the first elliptical workout was like 5 minutes, take a 1 minute break, 5 minutes again, and then you had me go up for an hour. And yeah, I mean, that was that. And then our virtual sessions where you would have me do 150 sit to stands and 150
Tons of reps.
Yeah, just high reps of body weight stuff, body weight squats, core. You helped me strengthen my core and stuff. That at the time I was like, is this really gonna work? But I was like, he's making me do 150 to 200 reps of this stuff. So yeah, it's going to work.
I would
And then
like, all right, go ahead. 150 sit the same.
we would get on a FaceTime on, you would probably use your laptop. I'd be on my phone.
That laptop, right?
Yeah. Can you see your phone? I'd be on my phone and like, I'd see you, it's not my, like, what do I do now? And then you're like, all right, 150. And I'd have to set my,
Like 15.
yeah, I still have that. Yeah. So
Okay, that's like the what and the how of what we did. And, we got to a point where now it became, you were under 300 pounds and we started running. You wanted to do your first half, things like that. We went 5K, 10K half.
yeah.
What did you do when things were hard? Like when things got hard?
Back then, when things got hard,
Like there had to be moments when you were like, I'm fucking done.
I get a little bit more of those now than versus back then. Yeah.
So was it?
It was because at a certain point I hit a block, which we could talk about. And that's what kind of how I gained some weight back in 2024.
Right.
But
Okay, so you
back
went,
then,
let's talk about that. So you got to about 250 and then you gained back like 25.
yeah. So,
Tell us about that.
okay. So, at the end of 2023 was a very busy year. I had 5 weddings that I was like, I got invited to, and I was in most of them. Phenomenal experience. I enjoyed every piece of it. And at the end of 2023, I was just kind of like, man, I had such a great last 2 years. Like in 2022, at the beginning of that, when I started losing the weight, I felt like my life had really taken off. And I just had come out of, I gained confidence back. I just came out of probably the worst year of my life in 2020. And I spent all those years not believing that I could make something of myself and actually do this. I always wanted to have a weight loss journey. I just never knew how to do it. And I needed someone that wasn't my friend or family member to push me. And that's why I'm so grateful I found you, because you were that someone to help facilitate that. I needed like a third party, And with that, I went to Europe in 2022. I climbed a mountain in 2023. I ran a half marathon in 2023. Did all this stuff that I never dreamt of doing,
Right.
because I had lost this weight.
Right.
And at 2024 hit, I turned 27, and I kind of really hit like a mental wall. I was like, man, these last 2 years were probably the 2 best of my life. What's next? And this was pretty negative thinking on my end. And but
it's real.
It's real. It happens. And, I spent a lot of 2024, like my birthday's in January. So my 27th year, thinking about what's next. And during that time, I had hurt my shoulder, and I had to go to PT for like 3 months. And I couldn't really do a lot of the things that I enjoyed doing the previous year. And I didn't find enjoyment in it anymore. Maybe I was a little burnt out. I was burnt out from running. In 2023, I started golfing a lot. I'm really bad, but I love it. In 2024, I couldn't golf nearly as much because my shoulder would hurt, and then I couldn't lift. I couldn't run because when I would start running, my shoulder would flare up, and it just sucked. So I got healthy again with PT. It took time. I stopped running with you, and then when I got healthy, I was like, okay, man, I want to rebuild up my strengths. And that running took a back seat. And I started lifting more. I definitely put on some more muscle, but then with that extra cardio, or the cardio gone, I was pretty stressed out and honestly a little depressed at sometimes. I don't really talk about that. Only a handful of my close friends know that. I went through some pretty 2024 towards the end was a rough year. For me, I just was in a bad headspace, and we've had multiple conversations about it, and it took me a while to really get out of the rut. And towards the end of the year, when I was like, and into 2025, this new year, I was like, I started coming back. I went back to the things that I found enjoyable again after taking off. So we started running more. I continued to lift. Honestly, it took a little bit of break from golf because it's the off season now, and my swing is probably the worst it's ever been since I started. And then I just found my hobbies again that I liked when I was younger. I'm a big anime fan. I watch a lot of anime. I've been doing that now. I've been playing video games a little bit more. I've stopped going out less, like, to bars and stuff, and really focusing in on getting a good quality workout in. I've been trying to eat better, but, it's life. I know you do get on me on that for here and there, but that's a work in progress. So, but yeah, just when you go through stuff like that, you just gotta remember why you're doing it and keep telling yourself that you can succeed. And if you have a support system, lean on them. Mine was a handful of my friends and you. And it'll get better. You know the saying, if you're going through hell, keep going, or whatever that goes. I believe that because I've done it multiple times. And I think the fastest way to pull yourself out of it is to just go through and push onward.
There's a saying that is, what got you here won't get you there. You understand what I'm saying by that? What does that mean to you?
What got you here won't get you here.
Won't get you there.
Won't get you there.
Won't get you to the next spot.
I think that means...
I feel as though...
Why don't you tell me first and let me think?
I feel as though with the, initial drop in weight up until about July of 2023, right? Using a lot of the method to get to that point, like those first 3 years, like it was kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Then we hit a wall.
I hit a wall, yeah.
Right?
I hit a wall.
You started realizing that like the things you're doing, it's not enough anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Like
to get to this next point. So I guess if another question is, what is your next point?
My next point?
Like, are you good where you're at now?
No.
What do you want to do? If you are,
So I forgot to mention this earlier. My overall goal was to lose 200 pounds, and that would get to 225. Right now I'm 275, so I got 50 pounds more to go. And I got down.
Which has been the hardest 50 pounds, I think, from my perspective. Right?
Yes, because I got down to 250, and then I went to in October, I got down to 250. The day I left to go to my best friend's wedding in North Carolina was why I weighed the most. I was actually 248. But then it was a 12-hour drive to North Carolina. We stopped and got fast food, and we at the Airbnb, and we ate out a lot, and we were drinking beers and having a good time, and yeah, so I gained some weight there. I think I shot back up to 260, and then I lost it again, and I got down to 255, and then I went to Mexico for another wedding, my final wedding in November, early November.
Yeah, you're doing a lot.
That was a blast. I had a great time, but it's all inclusive drinks and food. And, when you're sitting at 80-degree weather in Cancun, and you're sipping like pina colada at the pool and eating tacos, it's
right. Well, it's almost like
it happens.
You had this super powerful why.
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, and something changed once you got to 250. It was almost like you were kind of you were a new person at this point.
Yes, I was.
Right?
Yes.
And you had a new baseline almost. Yeah. And in my perspective, something changed at that point. This was, less than a year ago now, where it was, I don't know if content is the right word, But you kind of were
No, I was content. I was like,
I'm good.
I'm good. And then
Weight started coming back.
yeah, it got a little chippy, and I was like, uh-oh. And then, it took me a while to realize. It took me pretty much all 2024. I was like, what's next? What's next? I always talked about doing like a half marathon or whatever. But then, towards the end of 2024, I discovered something that has really interested me. It's called high rocks, and we've talked about this. And I thought to myself, man, that looks fun. I really want to do that. Problem is, there's no events in Milwaukee, and the only one that's announced, I haven't looked yet in a while, so they might have announced something, but the only one that's in Chicago is like the world champ, and I'm just an amateur guy. So you challenged me to rediscover my why because I was content, and it took me a while to realize that. And that's part of the reason why I gained weight. And also, I was just really ticked off that I got hurt. I got hurt in April of 2024, and I just ran a half marathon, not an event, but just on my own. And I was feeling good. I was like, man, let's continue. Let's go. And then I get hurt, and all the progress stops, and then, I get in my head too much and got depressed over stuff, and that's part of the reason why I gained weight. So I wasn't careful with my diet. I caught it though. So at the beginning of the year of 2025, I was 285 pounds, but now I'm 275. So I've lost 10 pounds since the beginning of the year, and I want to keep going. The overall goal is 200 pounds. I would love to get there because that's just, I want to get there now.
How are you going to get there?
How I'm going to get there? I need to refocus on the stuff that I can control.
Which is?
My nutrition. Because the workouts, I've told you this before, the workouts you wrote the last 3-4 months have been the best you've ever written for me. I've gained a very good amount of strength in the major, I guess, body groups you want to call it, or workout, or less, like bench and squat and deadlift and that stuff. And I'm running again now. So I'm training for a half. I got a half marathon coming up in I think it's April 12th. So 6 weeks away. And I can feel myself getting stronger with each run. When we went on a run yesterday, it was 4 miles, and I felt like I could have done 10, or not 10, a 10K. But you can do it tomorrow. We're doing it tomorrow, bright and early. So that's why we didn't do that. But then we lifted, and we did a push day yesterday primarily, and we benched, and I was super nervous about hitting 225 because I tried it 3 weeks ago and I didn't get it, and I got it twice, and I got it, like 75% of the way there on the third rep. So that was awesome. The issue is that, and again, this kind of relates to where I was at the beginning of when we first started. I was seeing great results in the weight room or, workouts, but I'm not losing weight. That's because I wasn't eating good. So I developed towards the end of the year, 24, I got some pretty bad habits, and I've been working on that ever since, slowly but surely. And now I'm finally feel like I'm back on track to where I'm not comfortable, but like I'm on track to achieving the goals. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and in that way, it brings me comfort, like I want to keep pushing more, and it gives me a bit of stability to keep pushing forward and keep continuing to hit the goal. Eventually, I do want to compete in high rocks because I think that would be awesome. But I need more training because those workouts are very challenging, but that's good. It's a good thing. And I want to get a sub 2-hour half marathon. My PR right now is 2:10. I would like to beat my PR in April. I don't think I'm going to get sub 2, but I think I can get it this year if I depending on how I do in April, I'm pretty confident I can do it this year. So if I have to do another one, I'm very down to do that, because that'd be pretty sweet. A sub 2 hour half marathon, that'd be cool, and then potentially full on marathon. But I haven't grasped that yet. So, but that's something I do want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just may take some time, because that's a whole different level.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole different level.
I had 2 questions for you left for you. We're going to go over. The first one is, if you could go back and talk to John for 425 time, what's one thing that you would say to that person?
It gets better. It gets better. I know life seems pretty grim right now, because it was. But you just got to believe that you can do it. And you just need to believe in yourself. You're capable of so much more than you realize. And if you just persevere through the pain, you'll achieve all you want to achieve.
I think you can tell yourself that now, too.
That's what I'm thinking too. I just thought of it. But
I think you need to hear that now, too.
yeah, probably. Because I'd like to I have a lot more. That's the thing we talk about sometimes, is like, you'll have goals and once you hit them, you're like, all right, what's next? That's another reason that keeps me going, is like, I tell this to some of my friends who want to, get into lifting and stuff, and they're like, you can do so much more than you realize. Sure, you can't do it now, but there's stuff you can do, right? Like, yeah, you might not be able to run them, but you can run maybe a half a mile or a quarter mile, and you can build up to it and continue on. And that's where I'm at now. Like, yeah, sure, I can't run full marathon, but I can run half. I can probably run 15 miles. You'll get there. You just got to continue to believe and trust in yourself.
How does it feel being an inspiration, beacon of light? For you just explained it perfectly. You have friends asking you about fitness now, something that 4 years ago, I'm assuming they would not have asked.
No.
How does that feel? Having people come to you and ask about weight loss, exercises to do, etc.
It's interesting, because I'm kind of low key. I don't really flaunt on social media. I don't really post a lot. The only ones that really know, I guess, the true story are my close friends and some others. But from time to time, I will get questions, and I just try to answer honestly, because everyone's different. What works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So I just tell them that, again, what I just told myself: you are more capable. You're capable of doing so many great things. You just have to find the reason to do it, because I think that's what a lot of people struggle with when they want to get in shape, is they don't have a reason, maybe.
Or it's not powerful enough.
It's not powerful enough. It's like, oh, I see this person on social media doing this. It's like, I want to do that. And then they go for a week and they fizzle out,
Yeah, when it gets hard, you fizzle out.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do when it gets hard? Yeah.
Exactly. It's how you respond. And that's why I failed so many times before, because it got hard. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to go home and I want to go eat McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
But now, you asked me earlier, what do I do when it gets hard? I tell myself that it's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to challenge you. Life is hard. Doing things that push push you is hard. But it's the feeling when you accomplish it that makes you smile at the end of the day, because you achieved it. And that's when I look back at, my past, yeah, sure, there was a lot of dark times. But when I went through it, my goal was to just get it. And then I look back on that with such fondness. And then I think what made, back to me hitting the wall, is I lost those feelings. And I was like, what now? And I got all up in my head, and it's like, I lost sight of it, And it took me a while to really get back into the swing of things. But now I feel more confident than ever that I will achieve my goals because I went through those tough times. And it's helped me prepare for what's next in life and in physical fitness, I guess.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm super proud of you. I'm super grateful. Again, like being a part of this journey. I remember talking to friends, family, whatever, and saying early on, like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to help this dude. And like doubting not you, but myself, and just and remember thinking like, but if I do, it's gonna be really cool a few years from now to see what this dude is like. And I think that's what fueled me, because I like early on when it was frustrating for me too, those first 3 months. I was like, why is this not working? I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Google this, Google that, Google, it's like, what's not working? And getting invested in that. And then for me too, it's like, all right, you're gonna have to throw the towel in, as a coach, you have those moments with clients where it's just not seeing the results that they want, and it hurts you too.
Sure.
And you have to figure out, how do we keep going as well? And that's where it's a team effort.
Yeah.
And just communicating and figuring out together.
Honestly, I never even considered it from your point of view. I knew it was all me, because I was like, there was something, because you were killing it from my point of view. Honestly, you had me in those beginning days. You had me literally a couch potato who couldn't walk. You transformed me to being able to walk like 7 miles, being 400 plus.
I mean, you did that.
Well, you have a plan.
I'm telling you, the role I played versus you actually executing was very minuscule. You got to give yourself more credit. I was like 1%.
No, you gotta. I don't think you're looking at it from my point of view enough. Like, well, also it's hard because this is our second time meeting in person. We met.
It's also kind of crazy too. I don't think we never really talked about that.
Yeah.
But I've only met you twice in person. Yeah. It's funny because we talk every week. You're the only client right now that I talk to for like coaching stuff once a week. Every other client, it's maybe twice a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but you're the only one I still check in with every week.
I appreciate those check-ins, but yeah, no, we met back in 2022. You came to Milwaukee for Summerfest, and we had some fun. It was a good night.
But anyways, me,
from my point of view, you don't. It's hard for you to say, but you don't understand how much you helped me. I'm serious. You helped me kick an addiction. Well, you helped me combat, because I don't think I really am over it, because I still frequent to like fast food, probably more than I should, admittedly, but I'm working on it. It's a work in progress, and I'm confident I'll be able to reel it back in, but it's compared to where I was, man, it was so bad. It was horrible. I don't know where right now, if I didn't met you, I don't know where I'd be. I would not have been able to do any of the awesome things I did the last couple of years. Wouldn't have been able to go to Europe because I wouldn't have been able to fit on the plane. I wouldn't have been able to run half marathons, 5Ks and all that. I wouldn't have been able to go to these weddings. I wouldn't have been able to do any of it. I don't know if I'd be alive. I don't know. I'd probably be 600 pounds. Pushing it. I'm serious, dude. And at that time, in 2020, in 2021, I was just gaining so much dang weight. Yeah. It was just mental, dude. I was killing myself. I was absolutely killing myself. So I give myself credit, but dude, you helped me so much. And I just wanted to let you know that. So it's not 1%. It is a lot more than that.
You've helped me a lot. It's back and forth. It's back and forth.
It's
But I appreciate that.
like you helped me combat a very bad addiction. Some people are addicted to alcohol and other stuff. Mine was food. My comfort was food. When I was in high school, if I didn't have any plans, which happened a lot or whatever, even in early baby college, I would literally go to McDonald's and it would give me momentary happiness. McDonald's would talk about get 3,000 calories worth of food, go home Saturday night, eat, play Grand Theft Auto 5 and stay up way too late. And you're like, dang, this was a good night.
Yeah.
I don't do that no more.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. So give yourself more credit too, dude.
I will. You too. I don't know that I'll actually do this. I might cut this part, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But if I told you can name this episode, what would you name it? Put you on the spot a little bit.
I don't know. What do you think?
So that's. You don't have to give me an answer to. Like I said, I might just cut this and let AI do the work.
I would say do.
Never asked anyone that.
My oldest. You should either do my oldest client or you should do like. What about like my oldest client that lost 150? Or is that too many?
Is it something along those lines?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oldest client. I was thinking something like from 425 to 250 or something. We'll see what AI gives us.
Sure.
And I'm also not going to cut this because I'm lazy, so you guys get to all listen to this. All right. Last question. We always ask every guest when they're done what their we get to do this moment is. And Kaylee will say, this could be today, this could be this week, it could be over the whole journey, it could be 5, whatever. But John, what's your we get to do this moment? What comes to mind?
Anytime I'm running long distances, literally anytime, because I was not able to do that. Or I'll rephrase. Anytime I'm able to do something that I couldn't do before. Like running, lifting heavy. Like yesterday I got 225 twice. Haven't done that in a while, so that felt good. When I ran my first half marathon, I finished in 2:10. Felt like I could go 15 miles, but after I stopped, I was in pain, so it was a good thing I didn't. Climbing a mountain. When I went to North Carolina, we climbed Mount Mitchell, just like the highest point east of the Mississippi. Granted, we did drive up 5,000 miles, or feet into the mountains, but we hiked probably good 1,700 feet, and to be honest with you, it was pretty easy for me. And that's a damn good feeling. Oh,
big feeling versus the Angel's Landing.
Yeah. One quick story. I just want to mention this. So I mentioned way earlier in the pod that we went to Devil's Lake. I went back with my 2 best friends, probably a year or 2 later. Did the entire thing in 90 minutes.
That's easy.
Crushed it. We all crushed it. All 3 of us.
Not being able to do it.
Couldn't do it.
90 minutes.
Yeah.
That takes probably 2 hours, you said, average.
Yeah, it was about a little under 4 months.
Let's get you under 60 minutes, huh? No, I'm just kidding.
You'd have to.
I'm not toxic.
That's
like
kind of dangerous. It's kind of dangerous because
I'm not toxic like that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But no
toxic
great.
For me.
So we get to do this moment. I have them weekly, all the time. Anytime I experience something like new that I couldn't do before, I always think back to where I was, and it's very humbling, It's like, we get to do this. I can do this. I couldn't do this 5 years ago, but I can now. I wonder what I can do in 5 years from now. And that's a great motivation.
We're going to have you back on in 5 years, too.
Yeah.
Maybe soon. Do you want people following you on socials? Do you want to share any Strava or Instagram or anything?
I'm not really active on Strava. I sometimes post on Instagram. You can, if you want to see more about my journey, I made a I guess, Instagram page. It's just called John's Journey 2022. I kind of made it back when, actually, Mikey gave me the idea. So I kind of made it to just track my progress. It's got a couple followers on it, but if you want to follow it, go ahead.
I'll post it in the show notes.
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, dude.
This was awesome.
This was good.
This is great.
Mm.
If you want to follow John, you can follow John. We'll have him on again, I'm sure, in the future. Otherwise, good luck with all your endeavors, and good to do this, man. Keep going.
We do
Proud of you.
this. Appreciate it. And I'm so happy we met, dude. You've changed my life for the better, and I can't wait to see what we can do. I can't wait to see what you can do too. Sub 3 hour half or full marathon, not half. You're gonna crush it, man.
Appreciate that.
You're gonna
Someday.
no. Soon.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
100%. Full belief in you, dude.
Appreciate that.
You're gonna crush it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Kaylee, we made it through another episode. What do you think?
We would love if you would go give us a follow, a 5-star review, and comment on the episode and what you liked and what you'd like to see more of.
See you next time.
We get to do this.